Before we talk about potential replacement candidates, Coach Tibbs was already in jeopardy of his job before the playoffs began. And it was widely assumed that getting to the Eastern Conference Finals at least would have helped keep him around for another year. But Shams Charania said on SportsCenter that the Knicks believed they needed a new voice to take this team to the next step. They felt that Tibbs' voice had waned. They simply felt like they needed someone else to take this team to a championship level and someone else who will be better suited to lift this team to that threshold. And Taylor Jenkins, Michael Malone, and now Coach Tibbs have all been fired this past year. And the NBA's increase in parity and the belief among several teams that they're too close to competing for a title as a reasoning behind all three of those dismissals. So we'll get right into today's video, which we already knew that Johnny Bryant was one of the front runners that people like. We've heard from Tom Thibodeau we didn't hear from Tom Thibodeau, but from Mark Steiner, the sideline, that the Knicks did not have a succession plan to replace Tom Thibodeau. We just got a report from Kelly Iko, quote, regarding reports identifying Ime Udoka as a potential target for the vacant Knicks coaching position. Houston has no interest in entertaining that, a team source told The Athletic. Both parties are committed to the long-term project and are actively preparing for a busy offseason. That is coming from Kelly Iko. Now, we'll continue the rest of the video. We know that Jay Wright is someone they're intrigued by because of the Villanova boys, but Seth Davis said he's been working with Jay Wright, and everything he's spoken with him, it would be completely the opposite of what Jay Wright has said if he went back to coach. There's alleged interest in Jason Kidd and Ime Udoka, and the Rockets would reject any interview requests, but you can trade for a coach. We've seen it before. Teams, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets were involved in a coach trade. The Boston Celtics, and that coach who was traded between the Nets and the Bucks was Jason Kidd. And we also saw a coach trade between the Doc Rivers and the Boston Celtics and the Clippers. So I think it's possible for a coach to be traded. We hadn't seen it in a while because it's just, why would you give up an asset for something? But he was traded to the Nets traded Kidd's coaching rights to the Bucks for 2 second-round picks, and it was really that there was a lot more contract reasons behind it, but something to keep out. And I wonder what's the next. I think the biggest thing is who's going to help this team get to the next level. I think Johnny Bryant's the one that I'm most intrigued by. I don't think they're going to get Ime Udoka. The New York Knicks have fired Tom Thibodeau after making the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. Today I was talking about some of the coaching candidates that should be in consideration or have been reported as guys that could be in consideration. Now, before we start today's video, I'd like to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think of this whole ordeal? And do you think it was right for Tom Thibodeau to be fired? Because it's rare you see a coach fired this late in the cycle, especially after a productive season. But the Knicks, 3 days after a loss in the Eastern Conference Finals that ended the team's most successful season in 25 years, Leon Rose, with the support, this was Leon Rose's decision, with the support of James Dolan, the Knicks' owner, as firing Tom Thibodeau, according to Leon Rose, was, quote, best for our organization moving forward, end quote, but did not go into further detail. To me, I think a lot of people are equally as shocked. Thibodeau, 67, went 226 to 174 in the regular season and led the Knicks to the postseason 4 times. And yes, they fell short of winning it and going into the regular season or going into the NBA Finals. There were 2 losses short. However, we all know the criticism that he plays his starter too many minutes, and those complaints were not really that loud this year. Mikal Bridges actually admired playing so many minutes, and I think the biggest thing with this team, though, was that they didn't have a big bench. And the Knicks are going to be looking for a coach who can build on their talented core, but hide their obvious flaws. As this is a squad that's had a negative net rating from January 1st to the end of the season. And whoever they'll hire is going to inherit a top 10 player in Jalen Brunson and a core of Cat, Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart. I would not be surprised if they go out and get a big name. I was going to say Jeff Van Gundy. What he did with the Clippers this year might actually intrigue them to bring him back. I've been told that Jay Wright is the ultimate wild card and he's not going to come back after abruptly retiring 3 years ago. So I even though he coached half of the big team, or the big three of Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Jalen Brunson were all coached in college by Jay Wright. But I think if there was a former guy that's going to become a coach, Jeff Van Gundy, who led the Knicks from 96 to 2001, would be the type of guy to replace him. Even though the two are very close, that's just my thoughts, that he makes the most sense if you wanted to choose someone that you think is going to be able to be the best successor. I also don't think you can rule out young guys in the first coaching opportunities, and the Micah Norries, the Sean Sweeneys, the Chris Quinn, who else would be in there? I think that's basically Johnny Bryant's the other big name, and Dave Bliss, James Borrego, Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins, Darvin Ham, Michael Malone, are all the other guys with coaching experience that have been put into consideration. So far, out of all the names, who do you think sounds the most enticing? And just kind of go off of that, we can talk about the other coaching candidates that have been rumored or suggested. And to me, I think Micah Norrie is one guy that has come onto the radar. Everybody knows him for being a smart guy, giving good interviews, but I just don't know if he's ready. Chris Quinn, I personally think, is the Heat success for Eric Spoelstra. He's been with them for a decade, and he even interviewed for the Cavs head coaching job last year, and he's met with the Suns. Sean Sweeney's the top assistant in Dallas, and he's like a defensive coordinator who has a history of vibing with star players, specifically Giannis Antetokounmpo when he was in Milwaukee. He's 41 years old, and he could be the guy if they go first-time head coach. Now, outside of those two, we spoke about Michael Malone and not being too similar. Someone said Darvin Ham in the Athletic reports. I really doubt Darvin Ham would be the guy. I'm sorry, I just don't see him as an NBA coach. Now, Taylor Jenkins spent 6 seasons with the Grizzlies before they decided to move on from him because, well, it seemed like he wasn't matching with the rest of the team. Outside of that, Mike Brown was suggested, and he was someone who had a lot of success. And every time he ends his tenure with the team, it's usually because he's fired. But Johnny Bryant is somebody who used to work for the Knicks, and closer to this, I think if you go first-time coach, it's him.